Hey, what's going on? It's the Live Sober channel back here again for another video from the car this time. Driving home from Sunday morning yoga. It's kind of becoming a routine. I think it's the third week I've been in a row, which is cool. Starting off Sundays in a good way, so it's always a positive thing. Hope you're doing well. Everybody who's not watching, which is fine. So, I was thinking about talking about hypnosis and subliminal messaging and kind of mindset in general. So, hypnosis, subliminal messaging, I know it sounds kind of frou-frou and stuff like that, but it has to do with tapping into the subconscious. There's this idea that there's the, thinking part of our brain. That's kind of what the voice that you hear in your head. And then there's kind of this subconscious, right? The subconscious level where those thoughts actually kind of come from, right? So, because when you start to think about thinking, it gets pretty wild, right? So try this, try to think a thought, like, where does that thought come from? Can you purposely decide to have a thought? Like, okay, can you think of a purple elephant, right? So, if you're thinking of a purple elephant right now, well, where did that thought come from? Was it the conscious saying, hey, think of a purple elephant, or did it come up from somewhere else? And when thoughts come to you, like, where did they come from? And there's kind of this idea that, thoughts kind of think themselves. So there's a lot it's kind of wild when you start to think about it, because, it's like, well, if you're not choosing to have your thoughts, then, kind of who is? And so that's the idea of this subconscious, that there's this kind of conscious being inside of us that isn't necessarily the voice, the frontal voice that you hear. And the subconscious could have all kinds of different motives and things like that. And so if we can get the subconscious to start thinking in positive ways and to be working towards our overall goals, then they can actually help you, is kind of the idea. So it's one thing to consciously say, I'm going to not have another drink, I'm not going to eat the donut, I'm not going to watch Netflix tonight, I'm not going to smoke pot tonight, whatever the thing is. But when the rubber hits the road, we can say that in the conscious, but sometimes you find yourself almost like unconsciously going to light the cigarette, unconsciously going to the refrigerator, unconsciously kind of falling back into patterns and things like that. So how do we get that kind of subconscious to start working for you as opposed to against you? Because I think it's a habitual part of you as well, and so if it's used to something, it wants to keep going back to that, especially if that, if drinking gave the subconscious a really good feeling, then you're subconsciously, you're going to want to do it again, and maybe consciously, or maybe consciously you don't, but subconsciously you do, and you're at odds with yourself on the same thing, which kind of sounds weird. But so there's a few ways to kind of tap into this, and to take a less kind of frou-frou entry point into this, there's something called growth mindset, and this is a scientifically studied phenomenon that is used and is shown that having growth mindset is a positive thing for learning, for acquiring new knowledge. I guess that's the same thing for acquiring new skills and things like that. So I'll give you an example of this and that before we get into hypnosis, because I kind of think it's a little bit related, if not completely. So the idea behind growth mindset is, let's say a child gets an A on the test, okay? If the teacher or parent says, wow, you're so smart, you got an A, okay, this is not growth mindset. This is a stagnant mindset, meaning that you're already smart and that's what got you the A. A growth mindset would say, wow, you worked really hard and you did all the homework and you practiced and you studied, and the result of that was getting an A. Now, it seems maybe not like a big difference, but it is actually a huge difference, because what we're doing is we're showing that it's not that you're innately smart that caused you to get the A. It was the hard work and the practice and the rehearsal and all the stuff that went into it that got an A. Now, why is this so important? Okay, so the same kid gets a B. Okay, well, if we were to go in example number 1, okay, so they had an A. Oh, you're so smart, you got an A, to they got a B. Well, I guess you're not that smart. And you can't really change that. You can't really change how smart you are, right? So, if you get a B now, you're devastated because you don't know how to change that, because if being smart is what gets you an A, well, how do you be better at being smart? All right. So, the growth mindset, the kid got the A and they, oh, you practiced so hard and you got an A, great job. The student gets a B. It's like, okay, how did we study for this, right? What could have we done to be better? Did we do all of the homework? What did we not understand going into the test? What were the questions we could have asked, right? And it's this idea that you can get better, right? This growth mindset. And if we bring this growth mindset into our own lives, it's extremely powerful. So, growth mindset being something that's not just for kids, but for us every day. It's like, hey, you worked really hard, that project came out really well, or hey, this project didn't come out well. It's not you per se who's the problem. It is the things that maybe you did or didn't do that could have gone better, right? And so it's not, well, you suck at your job and that's the end of it. It's, here's how I can get better. Oh, I could have read this book. Oh, I could have asked for this amount of help. I could have, put an extra hour in here or there, or whatever the things could have been that would have made the difference. So why am I saying this and hypnosis? Because when we start to put growth mindset to ourselves, and I'll show you another example of this too, it's changing the way we view ourselves, both consciously and unconsciously, right? So if consciously and unconsciously you believe you're really smart and because you get A's at math and then you get a C, well, that's your whole ego is now destroyed, because there's no opportunity for growth. And so if consciously and subconsciously you get, you have that stagnant mindset that, I can't grow, I can't get better, I just, I'm always the same, then you'll never kind of overcome that. So, here's another quick example before we get into hypnosis, and you're probably wondering why I'm going down this road, and maybe I'll illustrate it a little bit better. So there's something called positive stress mindset, okay? It's similar. Now, stress can be bad for you, right? We know stress can be bad for sleep. Stress could be, you're shorten your telomeres and all of this other stuff, right? So chronic stress is not good for you. And if you know that stress is bad for you, right, consciously and subconsciously, if you start to get stressed, oh no, now I'm stressed about getting stressed, right, which will make it even worse. But here's a little tip and trick. Stress is also really good for you, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, stress is what, if you're under a little bit of stress, a lot of people get their best work done during stress. If you didn't have a deadline on certain things, if there weren't deadlines in the world, things might never get done. Having stress really drives us to perform. Oftentimes it will reduce or produce different chemicals in the body that will help us focus, that will help us push through, be alert, be more active. Let's say there's a lion that jumped out, right? You're gonna have a big rush of adrenaline that's gonna give you super strength for a little bit so you can run the hell out of there or fight it or whatever you need to do, right? So that stress is actually really good for you. And if you but it can also be bad, right? So what's more important though is your reaction to the stress. So if you get stressed and go, oh no, stress is bad, and then start stressing out about that, you can go down a spiraling path that, this mindset path of where stress begets more stress, which, then it not only is it bad, it's worse than bad. But if you realize, hey, I'm feeling stressed, I'm getting my superhuman powers, let me use these to the advantage to get through this, and then I can let go of the stress, that's super powerful. And that's a mindset shift that can happen both internally, both consciously and subconsciously. So the reason I'm sharing all this is because I kind of believe this is what semi-similar to hypnosis and subliminal messaging, in that you're changing your mindset, right? So hypnosis, how does hypnosis work, or claim to work at least? So you've probably seen it in the movies and stuff like that, but generally speaking, in hypnosis, there's a period where you're put under deep relaxation, and there's lots of different tips and tricks and things like that that are used. You've probably seen the pocket watch and all this stuff, but generally it's just a verbal, counting down, walking downstairs. There's normally some visualization of things. And it's said that, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe it's like 60%, 40% of people are susceptible to hypnosis, okay? Not everybody. And it's probably, like most things, it's probably like a spectrum, okay? Like if you've ever been to a hypnosis show, what the person will do is they'll do little hypnosis tricks. And what they'll do is they'll weed out people who aren't going to be very susceptible to hypnosis. So they'll start off and say, everyone put your hands over your head. All right, pull them apart. If you can pull them apart, you're not susceptible to their hypnosis because they've done a little trick, right? If you can't pull it apart, right? Eventually they'll get you a few people up on stage, and they'll do a few more tricks going deeper with some people until they find one or two people in the crowd who are super susceptible to hypnosis. And that's how they kind of weed it down. So I've seen it as like, a range. You're not going to be 100%, but you're also probably not going to be 0%. I don't think it's like a binary thing. Like I'm 100% susceptible or I'm 0%. I think it's more of, everybody is probably at different levels. The more you are, the more you can use it as a tool. So they'll walk you into deep relaxation. Sometimes people feel like they go completely unconscious, like they're asleep. Sometimes, I've felt like I'll be lying there, but I'm so heavy. I've been under hypnosis and somebody say, like, pick up your leg. And I'm trying with like all of my might to pick up my leg, and I can't pick it up. So it just kind of depends on, how good the practitioner is or the recording you're listening to is. and then also your own willingness and susceptibility to it. And so, is it a bit of a, what's it called? Is it a bit of a, placebo? Maybe, but it doesn't really matter if it is or isn't, if it works, right? So then once you're down, the idea is that they can talk directly to your subconscious, right? And so you can be hypnotized for all kinds of different things. I've been hypnotized to stop drinking, to juggle better, to play pickleball, to have confidence, to sleep better, to work out more, there's literally almost anything you want to be hypnotized for, you can go find it on, especially on YouTube right now. There's just an amazing amount of free stuff out there. And then generally at the end, they'll either wake you up or there's some that will put you into deep sleep. So, and then the idea is that during that unconscious time, once that they've calmed you down and taken you to this place, that they can implant ideas and thoughts into the subconscious so that your subconscious starts to think the things that you are kind of programming into. Now, let's say you choose a recording that says, I want to be hypnotized to wake up early in the morning. Sounds good. So you put it on, it's 30 minutes long, 10, 15 minutes of calming you down, 10 minutes, 12 minutes of them saying, I wake up early in the morning, I go to bed early, I get the right amount of sleep, etc., whatever they're going to say to you. And then, the next morning comes. Well, what happens? Let's say you do get up early. Okay, well, that's awesome. That was what you wanted. Now, the question is, did you get up early because of the subconscious messaging? Did you get up early because, you actually want to get up early and you chose the hypnosis thing to, and it's kind of just an extra little pushing you over the top. And that's kind of what I tend to think it is a little bit. I don't think you can hypnotize. Maybe some people you can hypnotize them to do things that they don't want to do. But basically, I think when you're hypnotizing yourself, and we'll talk about subliminals in a second, is that you're really choosing to do something that you already want to do. And this is just going to help plant these thoughts a little bit deeper and really kind of grind them in and make them just a little bit more real, because you're taking time to really set intention. And that intention is I think there is something to say that it does get into the subconscious, that some of these ideas will start to come out kind of out of nowhere. Like, just when I say think a thought, like if your subconscious has been kind of flooded with these positive ideas about waking up early or whatever the thing you choose, then it's more likely to get those positive things coming out of it, right? So so I find it really helpful. The other, so I use hypnosis. I used it to go to sleep a lot. And then I also use subliminal messaging. And you might also find affirmations. So affirmations are generally a recording of somebody, and you can go on YouTube. There's billions of, not billions, but there's probably thousands, at least hundreds of different affirmations where somebody will just be on there, maybe playing some light music, and you pick the affirmation. Let's say you want an affirmation about earning money, let's just say. And they'll be kind of conscious affirmations, which means that they'll just be somebody talking, I make a lot of money, making money comes easy to me, I deserve to make a lot of money, whatever the things are that they're going to say as affirmations, right? So these are going to be spoken affirmations that, that you can hear, on the thing. So there's the spoken affirmations, And then there's the subconscious affirmations, okay? So subconscious affirmations are really interesting to me, and I really like them a lot. Been using them a lot. So these are going to be a song or rain or something like that. And then underneath that, you can't even really make it out, are going to be subliminal messaging, okay? And the weird thing is that if you try with all your might, you can't hear them consciously. You consciously cannot make out what is being said. But it's being said at either a pace or at a frequency that we consciously can't hear, but subconsciously, supposedly, we can. Okay. So again, let's take another example. Let's say you listen to a subliminal to start working out more. I want to work out. I want to go to the gym every day, or whatever your goal is, right? So you start listening to a subliminal message, and what I like to do is go on the YouTube and read all the things that they're saying. So the comment, the thing will say, I like working out, I like going to the gym, I make going to the gym a priority, blah 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 blah. There'll be a whole bunch of different things that normally just repeat over the course of, it could be a 3-minute song, it might be something you listen to all night, an 8-hour rain or something, and during the whole time you're getting this subconscious subliminal messaging. Then I like to go read the comments, especially on YouTube, because the comments are normally filled with tons of people who are saying, oh wow, this worked for me, I started listening to this and I saw this big change, and I started working out every day and I lost 100 pounds, or whatever the amazing story is going to be, right? And if you go look at these subliminals or hypnosis or affirmations on YouTube, you'll see literally hundreds of comments of people commenting about how these have made a huge impact in their life. Now the question is it the actual subliminal, or is it the fact that they're choosing a subliminal that says I'm going to work out, makes it more likely that they're going to work out? I think it's a little bit of the second part, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Now I like to go read what it says, and I like to go read the comments, because it helps put me into that mindset. And that's what I'm started at the beginning, is that growth mindset, this idea that I can change my mindset to not be stagnant, that I can look at things in a positive way, right? That I can grow, that I can be different, that I can change. And just knowing that makes it so that in the future I'm much more likely to change. It's the same thing with kind of this hypnosis stuff. It's like, if I'm choosing to be, this hypnosis is going to help me stop drinking or stop smoking. Now, I don't think if you want to keep smoking, and somebody says, hey, listen to this hypnosis, or they try to, play a subliminal message without you knowing what it is or something, I don't think it works that way. I don't think you can just play it, on somebody else, and all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to smoke anymore. I think it does have to be with intention, kind of like the growth mindset. You can't really, you have to, it has to be internalized in many ways for it to work, and come from you, but it is an aid. And so just a few things that I do, and some tips and tricks if you want to get started. So YouTube is just an incredible place to get started, and I'll put some links in the comments to one of the subliminal people I really like. I actually had her make me an individual one just for me, which was pretty cool. So I'll put some subliminals on there. I'll also share some hypnosis. I like Andrew Johnson. He's got a mobile app. I think now you have to subscribe to it, but it's probably worth it because he has so much good stuff on there. But also, if you go on well, there's just all kinds of different different things. If you search hypnosis, but YouTube's a really good spot for it, obviously. You can just find so much stuff there. It's just absolutely incredible. Now, here's the way I do it. So I like to do it with, the earbuds. If it's like mid-afternoon, kind of like nap time, you could do that. But the normal time that I do it is like going to bed. And this is the one thing that I haven't mentioned that's probably the best part of it, is that hypnosis and subliminal messaging normally can put me to sleep like that. And, as somebody who has a hard time falling asleep, that really makes a big difference for me. So I've bought it's an eye mask that has earbuds in it, and it's Bluetooth. And so I just charge it up, in the morning, at night, I take it off the charger, and then, it covers my eyes, and I hook it up so that I can listen to the hypnosis. And, I've got set it up now where I have little playlists. So I have a Andrew Johnson app where I can have him choose up to 3 different topics in a night. So if I'm working towards something or anything like that, that's good. Oh, here's the wife. Hey, you get some extra egg whites and a thing of spinach for me? Let me do. So that's the way I like to do it. And normally now the hardest part of falling asleep for me is just pressing play, on the thing and pulling the eye shade down. Once I put the eye shade down, it's not 100% guarantee, but 99% chance that I'm going to fall asleep. I mean, it's pretty high. So, highly recommend giving that a shot. Like I said, I'll put some things in the comments. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be the thing where, if you, and of course there's hypnosis on stopping every type of addiction, right? So I want to stop drinking. And that is something I did when I stopped drinking. This time, I did quite a bit of hypnosis around it. The Andrew Johnson has a stop drinking app you can download. And I would listen to that every day, sometimes a couple times a day. And I'm not going to say it's the thing that made me stop drinking, because it isn't, but it's definitely something that helped. And, I'm not going to try to take away from it either, because, I believe that it does help. And I think, if you're hearing this, I think it might be something you want to give a shot. So that's what I got for today. Just got home, so gonna go make myself a big breakfast and probably head here to the Y in a little bit, hit some shoulders. I think there's my girl. So at that, I'll say live somewhere else.